Hi, this is Mike Easley, the author of The Antics. Now, in chapter 6 of part 2 of The Antics, Carrence talks about this concept of self-love, about taking care of yourself in a way, standing up for yourself, and really putting yourself first in situations sort of like the idea of being on an airline and, they train us that there's an emergency, the oxygen drops down from the ceiling and you put your oxygen mask on first. That's kind of what self-love is about, because if you're not taking care of yourself, chances are nobody else will be. So it's important to do that. In the three-legged stool of self-love, we talk a lot about mindset. What is your mindset? And it goes to your self-talk. I know a lot of us, myself included, tend to have a really negative self-talk, like I am not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I am not rich enough, I am not happy enough, I don't have enough resources. Whatever it is, that voice of I am not that we have can create this really horrible conversation in our mind. And when we do that enough, we actually wire the pathways in our mind to think negatively about ourselves, and that can be very painful, can be very harming, and emotionally unhealthy for us to have that really negative mindset. And so there's lots of ways that we can begin to improve on that. Positive self-talk is one of those. There's techniques in cognitive behavioral therapy about how you may rethink and reshape your thinking, this concept of neuroplasticity, and all those things are really important. But I've done some research and have done a lot of work on this topic, and I actually think there are three essential elements to having a good practice of self-love, and I call this the three-legged stool of self-love. Now, interestingly enough, this actually comes from some scientifically proven theory from counseling. And you might be surprised to learn that the relationship between a counselor and a client is really one of the most important aspects of having any success in a counseling relationship. Now, I'm not a counselor, but I am in school right now in a master's program training to be one. And the research that I did shows that there are three elements in the counseling relationship that really bear the most success. Those elements are unconditional positive regard, empathy, and this idea of genuineness. And if the counselor can include those three things to help build the relationship with the client, about 70% of the time, they'll be successful. And it won't be a matter of a technique they use, it won't be a matter of a theoretical orientation, it'll just be a matter of the relationship. And I got to thinking about that. What would it be like to have just that kind of relationship with yourself? A relationship with yourself that has unconditional positive regard, empathy, and genuineness. And how would that change the self-talk that we have? And those were questions that I posed to myself, and began really thinking about this, doing some research and doing some writing, which is part of this series, The Three-Legged Stool of Self-Love, which is the first blog topic that we are having here in the Antics community. So if you suffer like I do from this idea of negative self-talk, where you may not think you're good enough, you may have shame, for things that you've done. And for me, one of my main things of shame that I've had is the fact that I've been married 3 times and have 3 failed marriages. And that's one that's kind of tough at times. And so by applying this three-legged stool of self-love, unconditional positive regard, empathy, and genuineness, and having that be part of the internal conversation I have with myself, it has helped me a ton. It's reframed my thinking about who I am, what I am, where I'm going, and what I'm doing, and it has really been very helpful for me in kind of moving myself forward. God tells you that we should love our neighbors like ourselves. And that sort of goes awry if we don't love ourselves first. And so I think it's really important that we think about the three-legged stool of self-love. Now, unconditional positive regard really means that we make mistakes. We're people, right? We're human beings, and we are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I certainly, and myself, have a long ways to go. But the idea of unconditional positive regard means that you forgive yourself for things that you might have done wrong. There's lots of ways to forgive ourselves, lots of meaningful ceremonies and things like that, tools that we can use. But at its very center, it's saying, I might have done something wrong. I might not have done what I wanted to do. And that feeling, if you have a feeling of guilt, that's okay, because guilt can prompt you to make amends. Where if you do something wrong and you think, I'm a horrible person, nobody would ever love me, I hate myself for doing that, that's a kind of a self-shaming thing. And shame and guilt are not the same. Shame immobilizes us, it freezes us, it locks us in negativity, where guilt hopefully can be a little more of a healthier emotion and moves us to make amends. So having unconditional positive regard is being able to forgive yourself, not shame yourself, and let yourself be inspired to move beyond, beyond things, beyond the problem or the issue or the mistake you made, to try to do better next time and to make amends if you have to. The other one is empathy. Empathy and sympathy kind of get confused. And empathy is the ability to join someone in maybe their pain and suffering, and where sympathy is kind of like saying, yeah, that really sucks. You're in a tough spot, and basically you're just glad that you're not there. Somebody who's empathetic will actually join you in your pain and suffering, and be there with you. And from the perspective of giving yourself empathy, it's recognizing that, yeah, you're in a tough spot. And yeah, it really sucks to be in this situation, but you will be there with yourself. You'll comfort yourself. You'll figure out how to build yourself up. And just having empathy is telling yourself, this too shall pass. It creates space in our suffering and shields us from that voice of I am not that says, I'm not good enough, you deserve this, you're bad. Having empathy for yourself is really understanding the pain that you're in and just recognizing and sitting with it and giving it space, knowing that you can work through it and things will be better. The other one is genuineness. Genuineness is about holding our truth for ourselves. And anytime that we go against our own truths, we create this conflict within ourselves. And so being genuine is really knowing your truth and standing up for your truth. You don't have to do it with aggression. You can stand up for your truth firmly and humanely and let people know what that is. But if you compromise yourself for somebody else or some other ideal, that conflict will set up in you and be very difficult to live with. So if you are genuine, if you have genuineness, you know your truth, you know what your non-negotiables are in your life, and in the nicest and kindest way possible to yourself and to others, you stick to those. And if you aren't able to, if you make a mistake, you forgive yourself and move on. And you just recognize, using empathy, that, we're not perfect. We're human. We are fraught with imperfections. And our ability to recognize those imperfections is a gift. And hopefully our desire to maybe improve on those and make amends are what really make us good people. So three-legged stool of self-love is important. It helps us build a relationship with ourselves, much like we're our own counselor. And to me, that's pretty powerful. It creates a mindset, though. The background of our mind is really what we're working on by creating this positive relationship with ourselves through the use of the three-legged stool of self-love. we're able to actually see ourselves differently and be with ourselves differently in a much more positive background. And background or mindset has a lot to do with how we see ourselves. There's a picture that is actually a drawing, and depending on your mindset, when you look at the picture, you may see an old lady or you may see a younger lady. And I'm not saying that old is bad and young is good, but the difference in maybe using the analogy, having a negative mindset, you may picture the older lady, and having a positive mindset, you may picture youth. And so the idea of creating this mindset helps you interpret how you walk through life and what you do much more positively. And so the background of our thoughts is very important. That taking care of yourself, both emotionally and physically, is very important. So I wish you the best on your journey. Thank you for being part of the Antics community. I hope you enjoy the blog. I hope you enjoy the content that we're putting out on Facebook. And most of all, I hope you've had a chance to read the book. And if you haven't, please pick one up. It's available on Kindle and also in paperback version. And if you've read the book and you like it, leave a comment on the website or go to Amazon and make a review. That'd be really awesome. And also tell somebody about the book. When we put the book together, we were hopeful that it would create a community where we could help each other. And so please feel free to share that book, talk about it, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and we will see you out there. Look forward to the next time we have an opportunity to visit. Thank you.